Welcome to the R Retreat, located at Northamptonshire's Whittlebury Hall complex, a 4-star hotel providing a luxury spa and golfing experience with the finest food and sports facilities. Absolutely everything that you could ask for to relax and recharge. But not only that, we have provided the best relationship and well-being speaker experts to empower you, to give you tools, tips and strategies of how to develop and grow your own relationships with self and with others. So come and recharge, re-energize, realign and rebuild. Book your place today at the R Retreat, Whittlebury Hall, Northamptonshire. This is the time for you and you alone to give back to you.
You got me running. Shake it, baby. Raise your hands up. Raise them up.
Difficult. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Yes. You can. I believe you couldn't hear me before. So maybe I was just talking to myself. As Des S says, I can't hear anything. Thank you so much for putting that. Yeah, I am a natural mystic is saying, yeah, your word. Okay, so good evening, guys. Slight technical hitch. As you know, this is a very live show. Very live. So things can sometimes go wrong. But I want to welcome you here. Those of you who are on Facebook, those of you who are on YouTube, good evening, good evening, good evening. I am so glad that you are here. And as I was saying to myself, because you couldn't hear me, I was asking you how your week has been. And I was also saying that my week has not been the greatest. I've had a lot of bereavements in the last, 3 months. It's just been bombarding. So it's not been easy, but I am here. I am here with you this evening, and I have some guests with me this evening, and we are going to have a full-blown conversation, as we always do. And DS says, love your necklace, Yvonne. Thank you so much. It's all about love. Absolutely, all about love. So I want to thank you guys. Hi, Angela Cozier, all the way from the USA. Thank you so much for being here. Patrick Solomon, thank you for being here. Angie Mack, thank you for being here. And as people start to come on and start to say hello, good evening, I'm just going to say good evening to everybody. And so tonight, this week, we're down for Red Letter, but we're going to have a conversation today, because for those of you who are in our exclusive Facebook membership group, the After Dark membership group, you will see that there has been lots and lots and lots of conversation going on about different subjects. And we're going to pick some of those subjects tonight. We are going to, yes, oh, 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 yes. Oh, and I could just see somebody pop into this group here. Okay, so tonight is going to be very interesting indeed. Very, very, very interesting. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our panel for tonight. Daniel does send his apologies. Daniel has been with us for the last couple of weeks, and he sends his apologies. And yes, he is saying he'll be back next week. He loves the show. So anyway, without further ado, as you can see on screen, you can see the lovely Theo Manderson is here with me this evening. Yes, yes, yes. And Theo is, let me just tell you a little bit about Theo.
Oh, here we go.
Did you say, yeah, here we go?
I said, oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go. Listen,
They can't see your shoes, man.
They can't see my shoes. We need a shoe cam.
Oh, wow.
Yes, lace boots. Yes, I told you I'm a shoe girl. Anyway, let us talk about the shoes later. Okay. I should have all these last week.
Oh yeah, you should have
put some ideas into this, isn't it?
Yes,
this is what you call shoes. Yes. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked. So, we've got Theo Manderson here from Premier Gospel Radio and the Naked Love podcast.
That's right.
Yes, so we're going to just touch on that in a second.
All right.
Yes, because this is all about us helping and elevating everybody that comes on the platform. Also, we have the gorgeous Michelle in the green room. Let's say good evening to Michelle. Michelle, are we coming into the green room? There we go. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Hi, Michelle.
Good evening. Good evening.
Now, Michelle is our expert on education this evening. Well, as always, actually, and because Michelle's been on the platform for some time and doesn't really get the introduction she deserves. So I just today wanted to say that Michelle is our expert in education. And so moving forward, so you guys know that it's not just people we have on here, we have people with qualifications on this show. Yes, we do. Okay, so I also want to bring in, now we have a new young man coming onto the screen. Now I want you to give our Lincoln a really, really warm welcome. So let's bring in Lincoln. Good evening, Lincoln After Dark.
Hello.
Don't be shy.
Rabbit in the headlights.
So welcome. Now Lincoln is a suicide prevention and mental health expert. Okay, so like I said, we're stepping up a gear on this show. We are getting the experts in. We're going to have really open and candid conversations. And also, listen, this was a surprise. We have a surprise for you this evening. Yes, back by popular demand. Let's bring him in. Let's bring in our Tony. Hi, Tony.
Hi, everybody.
You say Tony? Good, brother?
Yeah, very well, sir.
It's so good. Tony, you look like you've been away. You got a tan?
Nah, I hold the sun really well. So, when we did get like a couple of days of sun a few weeks back.
Yeah.
I just topped up my tan then and it holds for me,
Okay, we're going to see if we can turn you up. But keep talking, Tony.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've moved myself away a little bit so I can get closer if you can't hear me. So
that's better. Yeah, just keep coming. Yeah, stay right there because we couldn't really hear you before.
Okay.
So, you're looking well. So thank you for joining us this evening. Anthony McGregor says, welcome back. Yes. So, so it's good. So this is our panel for this evening, and we're going to be talking about some of the issues that we've had on our Facebook membership group. So those of you who are not in the Facebook membership group, On the link, you should be able to see there should be a link for you to join. If it's not there, it'll be there by the time the show finishes. Let's put it that way. Okay, so I'm going to come back to Theo
Okay.
and just ask about Naked Love.
hmm
Just tell us, and the people listening, just a little bit about Naked Love, what it is, what you do.
It's a podcast talking about relationships from a Christian standpoint, but we just rip the band-aid off. There's no political correctness. We don't shy away from any topic. We just blatantly rip it up and then just get with it. Me and this young lady called Kathy, aka a cup of Kathy. That's her
Okay.
name. And so different ages. She's newly married. I've been married a long time. So we come from different standpoints
Right.
and stuff like that. So we kind of disagree in a lot of things.
Is there a difference in age as well?
Yeah. She's like 31.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you're a big man.
just about.
Okay.
Just about.
All right then.
So yeah, so we just clash on different things, different standpoints, different views and everything. And so it works that way.
Okay. Well, that is Naked Love. So those of you who want to go and have a look on that, where can they find you?
Any streaming platform,
So
Spotify, wherever, Apple, wherever you go to listen to podcasts, we're there.
okay, that's
Season
Naked
2's
Love.
coming in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Start season 2.
But your old season is still there.
Season 1's still there. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so check that out. That's Naked Love. Naked Love. Well, it's not Naked Love. I'm just giving it a name now. But it's Naked Love.
Might as well get very close to it. It's a good thing. It's a podcast.
Okay, I'm hearing it all now. So, right, guys, so we're going to be talking about some of the subjects that we have been touching on. I thought, because normally today would be about the red letter, but actually, because we have so much going on in that club, I thought, you know what, let's bring that to the forefront and let's actually discuss some of the things. And one of the subject matters that has got people going, has got a lot of arguing, should I say. Different opinions. I'm just going to bring it up. So I'm using my phone, by the way, but I'm not looking at my phone. I'm just using it so I can tell you what we're talking about. Okay, so on the 21st of August, a post was made. Now, this post was by a friend of mine called Joshie Daniels Jones, and he runs another group on Facebook, and it says, is it wrong for a woman to teach her child to hate their dad, even though he's done nothing for the child? Right now, I know that the word hate is very strong here, but it's strong for a reason. All right, so I want us to just hold that. So all of you guys have been on the chat, you know what you've said, you know all of this. So I want us to think about that word, but I also want us to think about from the relationship perspective. Man meets woman. Let me give the scenario. And those of you who are listening on Facebook and YouTube, here is the scenario. Man meets woman, woman meets man. They get on, they're in love. They like each other. They like to be in each other's company. And all is good. Then they have a child. And they could have 2 children or 3. But let's say, for instance, there's 1 child in the household. Okay? And for whatever reason, mother and father have a disagreement and they no longer like each other. As we know, this happens. And now they no longer like the sight of each other. Right? So here we have the scenario. Dad leaves the house. Mum is left with the child. Now, how we navigate that conversation, how we navigate this conversation from here, I want us to be very mindful. Because this may trigger some people, this conversation. This may make some people feel really uncomfortable from the viewpoint that maybe they are the woman that's put a man out. Maybe, you know, they feel that they're right to withhold the child from the father. But it's not a personal thing. I don't want anyone to take this personally. We're just talking and having a conversation. And if you are triggered, I'm going to say openly right now, if you are triggered, that's for you to check yourself. right? Because this is not about anybody in particular. So if you feel uncomfortable, check yourself. Yeah? Okay. So we've got the scenario, guys. Couple split up. Mum is now talking about dad. Where do we want to start? Dad has left the house, has not looked back.
So he's not got any contact with
Well,
the
it
family.
says, yeah, that's what the post kind of says. He's done nothing for the child.
Okay.
The father has done nothing for the
So
child.
he's just gone.
He's gone.
Okay. How old does it say how old the child is?
No. Doesn't say how old the child is.
Okay.
The scenario is how do we take this from here? Remember, the mother is now raising the child on her own.
Mm-hmm.
And we're saying, are we teaching hatred? I want us to hold that word hate up here, because there's a passage, there's a journey before we get there, right? And this is why the word hate was used, because it's a journey. So let's talk about this. Let's be open and let's be honest. I've raised 3 children. I'm going to start. I've raised 3 children. And so I'm going to give you a little synopsis of my business, right? So my son was married to his dad. My son was raised with 2 separate entities, right? Because we're now divorced, my son. I then adopt a boy who is the same age as my son, right? And so I know the mother. Well, I know of the mother and I know of the father, but I am raising this child solely. And then some years later, my daughter comes along. My daughter now, I raised my daughter with her dad for 4 years. And in the 5th year, dad decides he doesn't want anything to do with said daughter. So then I am now left to raise daughter by myself. Yeah. So my eldest son has got his dad, and his dad is cool, right? He sees his dad. And then I have 2 children that I'm raising on my own. So that's the scenario. And I'm just giving you the scenario so that you know that my viewpoint is coming from a single mother's perspective, right? Theo, I'm going to go to you and then I'm going to go to everyone. So your perspective is what?
Should she be talking hate to the child about the father? No, she shouldn't be.
Okay.
Because all that does is if they do ever meet up, the child's going to be angry. The child's going to have his own thoughts about his parent. All she has to say is, look, your dad's not here. Your dad's not around. But I can understand where the hate comes from, the frustration and being alone, maybe no money, support, helping, looking after, like going out, doing all that. So I can understand the frustration and where the hate comes from. But to instill that into somebody else, your own frustrations, it's not good, because you're giving this child unnecessary baggage, unnecessary anxieties and angst and all that because of your own issues. Children shouldn't really be involved in adult disputes. Okay.
Children should be in adults. That's great. Okay. Tony Cox, I'm a father of 3 children too. All right. So Tony, I've just seen your comment. I'm coming to you. Let's go to you, because you just said I'm a father of 3 children too. Give us your synopsis of where you're at.
So I think you'll remember my comment around this particular statement, because it was very controversial at the time when I made it. And it stems from my growth as a human being. Ultimately, my viewpoint on the subject of hatred is it should never be taught to anybody under any circumstances, regardless of, race, creed, color, whatever. So for me, it was a non-question, because we're in the process of overcoming generational trauma. And with that, we're realizing that, we shouldn't be smacking our children. We shouldn't be teaching hatred. There's so many things that we're becoming aware of as a society that we should be getting around, that hatred should not be taught at any level. And that's my be all and end all, end of the conversation as far as I'm concerned. Clearly, we have a long way before hatred will ever be dispelled from society. But it's just something that really no one should be asking a question if it's okay to teach hatred. And that's from a person who didn't see my first child because my first wife kept me away from my first child. And then I had very much difficulty in trying to relate with her because she seemed to have been coerced into not really wanting to deal with me. And, you know, there were issues. I wouldn't say there was hatred, but I would say there was a disconnect which wasn't fueled in the right way.
Oh, thank you for that, Tony. Thank you for that. I agree. I actually agree with you. However, what the reason why it was worded that way, and I just want to give a little bit of background to this, is because even though we as people, as human beings, will say, "Oh, it wasn't my intention to say words that would make my child hate their parent," we may say that, but we know that it's a journey to get to hatred, especially with children, because they're like sponges. And so the more you say is the more you wear it down, and the bigger the issue becomes. And we know that I've worked in schools, and I know for sure I've heard young people say, "I hate my dad, I hate my mum, I hate.
Yep.
I've heard it. And that is why the word is specifically used, because young people do say this. Young people hear these things. And we know that it's not right to insult, but how do we change that? We are the older generation here, right? We are the big people now. It's, you know, we can no longer look and say, "Oh, the seniors," because we are the seniors.
That's right.
And so the reason why I've brought this up in conversation is because this is a deep-rooted conversation and it needs to be explored. And we need to come up with strategies. We need to come up with some kind of resolution, because we can see young people coming up in a certain way. And another thing that I will also say, and I do believe probably Richard Lincoln will come in and say, because we're going to go to him next, and then I'll bring in Michelle. One of the things is we sometimes hear or have conversations with our peers, and they're saying certain things, and we're like, we are agreeing.
Yeah.
And that does not make the situation any more easier. So now I'm going to bring in Lincoln. Lincoln, come in and give us your thoughts, your synopsis on that was written on our Facebook feed.
Okay, so when the question came up, I think you're alluding to kind of my response, because a lot of people were saying, absolutely not, you shouldn't teach hate to the child, you shouldn't be kind of enforcing any of that. Because really what you're actually doing is you're destroying a part of that child by teaching them hate, number one, and number two, hate about, hate for somebody that they come from, especially our black boys. So if it's a male child that you're raising, and it does affect the girls, if you're raising a male child and you're saying that your dad's no good and your dad's this and your dad's that, then you're actually affecting that young man's kind of self-esteem, as far as I'm concerned. But my response was, okay, lots of people are saying, no, you shouldn't do that. And my response was, okay, so a lot of people are making comments saying that you shouldn't be preaching hate, but how many of you are actually challenging your friends or your family members when they do that? So for me, the only way that we're going to deconstruct this type of kind of negative behavior is by challenging people. Because if we keep on saying to people, don't do that, and reinforcing that this is wrong, then eventually they'll stop. That's kind of psychology. So yeah, I think we need to also challenge what people are saying in our families and those people who are close to us.
Thank you for that comment. And it's very, very true, Very, very true. Now, I want to broaden this conversation up because in that post, it was about the mother, right? But I want to bring it because we know fathers do the same. This is human. This is a human thing that we do. Whether you're black, white, pink, Asian, purple spots, don't matter. It's a human thing. And the reason why I want to bring this is because just recently I actually heard on somebody's post that they had put out, which is on YouTube, which, you know, from it goes viral, it's all over the world. And that man was slating the mother of his child. And I just thought, he was talking about the mother saying she was wrong, but then started to slate her openly. And I just thought, well, that child's going to hear that at some stage of his life. So 2 wrongs, as I was brought up, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Michelle, I'm going to bring you in. Now, as our expert in education, and I guess you've seen a lot of things, you've been all over the world, you've taught all over the world. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, my response to the post was saying, no, it is wrong. And that if you do that, you hate yourself. I think that a lot of people need to do a lot of self healing so that they can get through that process. And also, you're teaching the child to hate 50% of themselves. So as Lincoln was saying, you're on a terrible road with the child. You may also find that in years to come, as children grow and get their own sense of self and their own opinions, they will come to realize that what you said wasn't quite the way that it was. And therefore, they may end up hating you.
Absolutely.
So you need to be very, very mindful and remember that at some point, you love that person enough to make a child with them.
That's right.
So you should never hate them, because then you're hating yourself. That was your choice. And the child is a product of that. And it should have been a product of love in most cases. Obviously, there are different cases. But in most cases, that child is a product of love and should always be a product of love. And you have to find a way to deal with it. And if you need to go somewhere else and talk to someone else about your feelings about your ex-partner, you do that, but never in the child's earshot. You know, I've been in meetings with parents where the child is in the meeting and they're saying all sorts of things about each other, and you have to find a way to diplomatically stop them because their child is sitting right there. And all they're doing is damaging the child, and hate itself just eats you up inside. So there's no point in doing that, because all you're going to do is have some sort of psychosomatic ailments that are no good to you in the future either.
That's right.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Michelle. So I agree. I agree with everything that everyone has said. But I do feel that I feel like as much as we say this, doesn't stop the behavior.
Well, nothing will stop the behavior.
The behavior is still there. And there are, dare I say it, I'm going to put it this way, there are many of us, not necessarily on the panel, but maybe listening or will go on the replay and be thinking, yeah, it's wrong. But actually, when they look back at their behavior, one of the reasons why I want to bring this up is because I want to provoke people to start thinking about their behavior and taking responsibility for their behavior, because that is the only way things are going to change. And so I'm challenging now to say, well, you know, who is without sin cast the first stone?
That's right.
Right? So I can openly say that, yeah, I probably have said something negatively about an ex-partner. I probably have, if I'm honest. And it may not have even been a word. It may have been a look. It may have been, it might have been a something. But the child knows that something ain't right. Yeah. Mum and dad are not on equal par, and they're not spars anymore. They're not liking each other anymore. So my question to you guys is how do you, for those people who are thinking that, those people are thinking, oh, well, yeah, actually, you know, I can't stand him. And any time his name comes up, it makes my whole inside turn inside out, right? Because at the end of the day, you've got to give the scenario, because
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can't all
That's
be
right.
sweetness and night.
That's
We've
right.
got to get to the truth.
Mhm.
So here's the man. He makes you feel sick to your stomach. You can't stand him. And so you've got the child there. Yeah, you've got the child there. And every time, my dad, every time the child says, oh, my dad, this, everything in you just change. What do you say to that person? Or vice versa, it's the man and he's got his child. Because I was raised by my dad. I wasn't raised by my mum, I was raised by my dad. My mother passed away. So my experience is completely different, right? So say it's the man and everything in him just rears up. And he, you know, what do you say to that man? Because we know, as the elders now, we've walked a path. We already know this is only going to end badly.
And that's what you have to tell them.
So what would you say? What would be your advice? And I'm gonna not come to you first. I'm gonna go to Tony first, and then I'm gonna go to Michelle, and then Lincoln in that order. And then I'm gonna come to you.
Okay.
So hatred is a really, really strong emotion. And to get to that point where you hate someone requires a great deal of steps along the way. You know, if you know, look, there's women and there's men who suffer physical abuse and cannot bring themselves to the state of hatred of the other person. So when you think about how much it takes to get to a point where you actually hate a person or a thing or a structure, you have to realize how much you've had to go through in terms of trauma to get to that point. You know, look, my father, my parents, you know, were old school Caribbean. Yeah. And when I was out of order, I would get lashes, you know, and anybody who's of an age will tell you about Caribbean lashes. But I never, ever hated my parents, despite what would now be considered physical abuse that I suffered as a child. I have marks on my body today from them days. Yeah? But there's no doubt I love my parents without remorse. So you have to understand how far you have to go. So you and your partner have been through some battles. And what generally tends to happen, one drops out. And that's it. I'm done. I'm not taking this anymore. This abuse, this trauma. And I'm saying that because I've been that person. I've walked away from abuse. And don't forget, abuse doesn't need to be physical. There are 10 different types of abuse. Yeah? So it's just that you know, you have to understand that and work out what has actually happened in a relationship for you to actually hate a person. And is it necessary for you to hate the person or to dislike a person? Because I can dislike many things without saying, I hate that.
Absolutely. I think what we're trying to say here, Tony, is because as I said in the running up to this, I said, you know, the man or the woman, they, as soon as their name is mentioned, like the whole of their inside is out. So we're not saying hatred, we're saying a dislike, because it has to start somewhere. But what do you say to that person, to that parent who is displaying this kind of behavior in front of their children? Because it only takes a small seed.
That's right.
Yeah. And then you all you do is all that happens is each time the person is talking about that person, they're watering that seed. So it, like we said, you know, hatred is a journey. It takes a long time to get to hatred. It's a period of time, right? But that starts somewhere, and we're talking about where it starts. How do we eliminate this out of our communities? How do we start to help each other? We are the.
But Dislike is not unique to black people. It's not something that you can go, oh, it's a black people problem.
Oh no, we're
It's-
not saying that. We're not
Exactly.
saying-
It's a natural human reaction, and it'll never be something you can ever get rid of. I dislike Marmite. Put the smell in front of my nose. That way. Yeah. I'm not into Marmite. I dislike it. I cannot turn around and say I hate it, because it's never done nothing for me. I've tasted it. I know I don't like it. Moving on. You give it to me, you show it to me, you put it on my bread. No thanks.
Okay.
That emotion of dislike can never be removed. Yeah. But what you need to do is understand how you deal with dislike.
Okay.
That's the
So
issue. And unfortunately,
hold that thought, Tony.
okay.
Because you know, I want to bring in a couple of the others. I said I was going to go to Michelle, and then Richard. So let's bring in Michelle, and see what. Go for it, Michelle.
But in terms of what advice I would tell that person, I think it depends on where they are in the journey of the end of the relationship with the other parent. Because you do have to go through some emotions, and it's how you deal with those emotions. Also, I think it can be age-related conversations that those parents have to have with the children. It really depends on how old they are. The older they are, the more they see, the more they understand, and you can be a little bit more realistic, but obviously you have to remove the hate from it. But in terms of education-wise, when things like this come up, you will have to have a private word with the parents and say, look, this is damaging your child. This is not good for them in their growth and for them to thrive. And they will feel torn, because normally they tend to side with the parent that they live with, because that's the one that they see. And so they may end up having a yearning for the other parent, and they feel tormented, because if they say that they still love that parent, they feel like they're rejecting the parent that's doing all the hard work, and they're seeing the angst in that parent. So in those kinds of scenarios, you would want to offer parenting lessons, parenting courses, and some guidance to those parents so that they can work through the feelings. Because I really do believe that when you have hate, it's the actual hatred isn't always directly at that person. It's more at yourself, maybe feeling a fool for being with that person, sort of transferring your emotions onto that person and saying that it's hate. But when you really look back, it was you that made the decision to be with that person.
Yeah.
And did you see any signs that they wouldn't be the right person? So people have to sort of reflect on their own behavior, their own responsibility, and see that some of the hatred is perhaps rejection of their own behavior, and try and work through that.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay, can I just jump in here?
Yeah.
If that's okay. I think most things can be dealt with via educating people. Now, if you're a parent and you know that
you hear that?
everybody,
We can hear you.
you can hear me, right? Sorry, there was, I don't know what that was. There was something going on in the background. But anyway, okay. So if everything can be dealt with via educating people, because if you know that what you're saying in front of the child is affecting the child negatively, then if you're a responsible parent, you're going to say, you know what, I don't want to negatively affect my child. So you may have feelings of hate or dislike for that person. Nobody's saying that having hate or disliking somebody is right, but you have to kind of be the adult in the situation and say, you know what, I know that how I feel about this person. So the comments that I'm making, I don't need to make them in front of the child. So, you know, you're going to take, you know, we're adults, so we take responsibility. It's not everything that that jumps into your mind that you're going to say. So why is it that you can kind of, you know, slate the absent parent in front of the child? If you've got a friend or family member or somebody you can talk to, get on the phone when the child's gone to sleep and say, and have at it, fill your boots with negative comments. But if you know that the comments that you're making are going to affect the child, and I think this is what people don't realize, making those negative comments are affecting the way the child sees themselves. I mean, Michelle said, you know, I think one of the other panelists said that you're hating 50% of yourself because you're going to be torn between the two parents. And I think we need to have some kind of empathy. We need to put ourselves in that position and go, you know what? How would I feel if somebody was telling me you've got to basically choose between the two parents? And then I would also say that when you're, you need to be very careful. I'm going to agree with Michelle again. You have to be very, very careful because, you know, what you're saying may be just how you see it. And it's not always the way that we put things in our own context may not be the reality of it. So I would always say that the children need to get you need to find out for themselves about that parent, because let's say you've been slagging the parent off for all these years, and then the child, because it's happening now, children are kind of walking into people on the street, bumping into people on the street, or people are saying, did you know that that's your father, or did you know that's your mother? And they're making relationships behind the parents' back.
That's right.
And what's happening now is that those children are hearing the other side of the story.
Yeah.
Now, you know, let's say it was 20 years ago, I would put it to some people that your recollection of what happened 20 years ago can be a little bit skewed. And it can get a little bit fuzzy. Maybe it didn't go exactly the way that you said. And I'm not saying that it didn't. I'm not saying that, you know, exactly what you're saying, you know, you weren't hurt or the person didn't cheat on you or whatever. It doesn't have to be that. It could be money troubles, could be anything. But I'm saying that you need to be very careful about the way, number one, you're treating your children, and number two, how you're recollecting what happened, because the children will find out. And when the children do find out, it may have a negative impact on you, because all that child's thinking is, you kept me away from my dad, you kept me away from my mom. And actually, I might have younger brothers and sisters now that I could have had a relationship with. And then the final point is, we need to be very careful, because if we don't have these relationships, we are also seeing now that people, a brother and sister, don't know the brother and sister, and they're getting into relationships. Now, that is a serious issue. So we need to be very careful, you know, kind of like holistically.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I can see, Tony, your hand up. Make it quick, Tony, because I need to bring Theo in. So, yeah, I know you want to make a point.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off the back of what Lincoln's just said, because, you know, a situation has arisen in my family, which is an expansion of what Lincoln's just said in relation to when you dislike a person and you let hatred or you let dislike form a barrier between you and a child. When my mum and dad came from the Caribbean, my mum's parents decided they were going to excommunicate her because they didn't like my dad. So for 20 something years of my life, I didn't know anybody in my mother's side of family. And my mother died when I was 1. And believe me, for 20 years of my life, I had a great upbringing by my father's family, but I did not know one single person. Then one of my aunts, my mother's sister, reached out to me from America. And we made a bond, we made a connection, and we formed a bond. And I got to know all of my mother's sisters who all lived in America, because it just so happened the rest of the family on my mother's side moved to America. And I got to know all their children and all their grandchildren, and we now have a bond. But it's funny, because, you know, you can see what happened. I've missed out on a lot of my family. Now, interestingly, my mum's dad lived in London. And it wasn't until my dad's funeral, 40 something years into my life, that I realized my grandfather lived in London, because he had decided he was going to have nothing to do with me. And when I found this out, you know, imagine how I must have felt. I'm 40 something years and my grandfather is here in London and I've never known. Because they've made the decision to excommunicate my mother, who has died and left a child, and none of you want to get to know. So what did I do? Because I'm not that kind of person. I'm like, okay, well, mistakes are made. I reach out to my grandfather's family because he's died. He died literally about within 6 months of my dad. And I reach out and they all turn around and say, no, your family not getting on, not dealing with that because your father did something with our granddaughter, whatever. So we're not getting involved. Right. Imagine how that makes me feel. And that's my point.
Thank you for that, Tony. Thank you for sharing that with us, because that's deep. That is really, really deep. Thank you so much. And, you know, I hope that you found some peace through that situation as well. And it just goes to show how the effects of what we say and how we treat each other, how detrimental it can be to the next generation. Absolutely. So, Mr. Theo, I'm going to bring it in.
Okay, in that scenario, I haven't been in that scenario, but I've spoken to people in that scenario, and I always say time, as Tony says, time. In time, and I think, is it Lincoln? Time. I say to mothers, you're cursing that father now. That's great. You can do that, but give it 10 years time, and that father comes back in, or whatever happens. That child has got all this impression of their father, and the father does completely the opposite of what they're thinking. And I think, is it Lincoln or Tony says, they turn around and hate you because I could have had a relationship with my father, maybe got siblings and all this stuff going on, and you kept me awake because of your own personal issues, because you hated my dad or you hated my mom or whatever it may be. So I just say, never curse the person, because people change. At that time, that person might have run out because of whatever they were going through. Maybe they were too young, financially, the relationship was stressful. Maybe they just didn't like you. They just didn't want to be with you. And it's as simple as that. I don't want to be with you, but you've put this barrier up saying, if you're not with me, you can't see the child. So I made a decision for my own personal mental health. So they ran away. So now 10, 15 years down the line, the child's growing up, their dad reaches out or vice versa, and they create a relationship. And then the child gets to understand that, no, I didn't dislike you. I just don't like your mum. That's it. I just don't like your mum.
You're going into something different now.
You're
climbing into something different now. Watch out, my brother.
No, but what I'm saying is,
it's true.
Because the child would have been, the child doesn't have, and the child's thinking that the dad doesn't like him. That's why he didn't want to be around. And it's no, I didn't have any problem with you. I just didn't get on with your mum. Your mum was hard work, and I was a young man, and it was a whole other things, and I wasn't ready. But I didn't want to not see you. She just wouldn't allow me to see you. So I'm here.
Okay. All right.
Can I say something?
I was just about to say something, but I'll let you say something, Michelle. I'll let you get in before me.
Yeah, in terms of very young children, say, for example, children that are in primary school or even into senior school, oftentimes educators see the hate manifesting in the children. They can't study, they fall asleep at school, they're tormented, they can't eat. We look at all those signs as well as teaching the children. A lot of what we do, if you like, is social work. And often in many communities, it is very difficult for parents to open up to the educators. Especially in our community, we feel like we don't want to chat our business, what they're going to do with the information. And we have to be mindful of that as well, because the whole idea is that our children thrive and that they do well and they have a good school life and benefit from their education as much as possible. But if they're hearing all this turmoil, or they're seeing tormented adults around them, because you don't even have to say much, as you were saying earlier, Yvonne, you can, if somebody hears the person's name and they recoil and their face gets all contorted and all the rest of it, children are sponges and they absorb that and they see it. So sometimes the school will go to the parent and question, and we can be quite closed. And sometimes we have to be a little bit more open, because it's not necessarily going to go any further, because it's not a situation of literal abuse, but there can be some interventions that can be done to help people. And I think that sometimes our community can be quite scared of that. But a lot of schools do have people that are trained to intervene in these situations. And it could be a situation where either a mother or a father just do not have anyone to talk to. You know, we're saying about you can speak to your friend on the phone or what have you, but you could be isolated as well. So it is important to have someone to talk to. So, you know, if the school do approach you about what is happening with your child, sometimes let them know a little bit about what's going on, because then they can make appropriate allowances for the child and give you guidance as to where you can get help and support.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that so much, Michelle.
What was you going to say?
I wasn't going to say that.
I know he's
I
know you wasn't going to say that.
What I was going to say though was I would like to. I want to make this clear that I am not bashing any, and this conversation is not bashing any parents, because you live by what you know. You behave by what you know, and what you don't know, you just don't know. If you don't know any better, you don't know any better. And so my thing is, you know, as Michelle said, you may be isolated, and that might be, let's take it to the woman, the mother. She may be isolated. She may be raising these children by herself. There is a lot of frustration. There is a lot, there may be no money. There, you know, maybe lots of things. Maybe the child is misbehaving. Maybe. There's lots of maybes. And I feel like sometimes single mothers do get the brunt of it.
Of course.
And we're forgetting that sometimes the fathers just go.
Yeah.
And they leave the mother. And I don't believe, I know that in this day and age now, with the younger ones coming up, but in our day and age, I don't believe that there were so many women saying, I'm just going to have a child for the sake of having a child by myself. Most people wanted the dad to be there raising the child. And for whatever reasons, they fall out. Yeah. But the intention was there before to raise that child together. And so I want us to really think about this from both perspectives, because I really do feel like that the single women who are left to raise the children do get a hard deal. They are the ones who are raising, they are the ones who are having to rob Peter to pay Paul, and to make this thing work, make the household work. So I don't want to be pointing fingers and say, oh, the women are this, women are, you know, and they shouldn't be saying all these things. What I'm saying is we need to create something, not just about our community, but for communities in general, that helps to support those who are raising their children by themselves, because we can see the state of how young people are these days. Not all young people, because there are many that are doing great things, but there are some who are getting, you know, swept by the wayside. And so we need to create something in that perspective, right? So Tony, then Michelle.
Okay, so in relation to the huge number of single parents that we have in the Black community, you know, what one has to understand is the reason for that, and why there is a disproportionate number of single mothers in our community compared to other communities. It begins and ends with education. And ultimately, I believe that a number of conversations have been had before about why we're at this stage where many black women feel left alone by black fathers, why they feel disenfranchised because, you know, where's the father of my children, etc., etc. There are so many elements to that, and without understanding the history and reasons behind the mindset of those people cannot fix those problems. So it all boils down to education. And, you know, look, hindsight is a wonderful thing, because what it allows you to do is go, well, what went wrong in my first marriage? Because I got married at 30, I'm now 53, 23 years later, I can tell you my mistakes in my first marriage. Yeah. Then had a second marriage at 40. So I'm now 13 years on beyond my second marriage. And I can tell you what mistakes I made in that marriage. Although they weren't the same kind of mistake, there were still mistakes, and they were on both sides. It's very important to understand and be educated about what causes things to happen with people. Yeah. So, for instance, I've mentioned this so many times on this show. You know, the person you was at 20 is definitely not going to be the person you are at 40, and can be so much different at 50. You know, so a person who knew me at 20 and said, oh, I remember Tony Cox, he was this, he was that. I'm no longer that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so we have to understand lots of different things, economically, socially, mentally, spiritually, in order to understand why we're at the place we're at as a people, hating one another, having children going out killing one another. Because remember, kids aren't killing each other because they hate each other. This is a mindset that is not built on hatred. It's a completely different thing. So it's all around education, and we have to look at all of that and go, how are we going to build a nation so that they're equipped with the right information and education to make right decisions when they become adults and change the world appropriately? Because we all know today, we look at our government and we go, what a bunch of clowns. They work for rich corporations, and all they care about is making sure that those rich corporations make money. So how do we build a nation of children who can change that mindset?
We have to change our mindset first. Okay, so Michelle, you wanted to come in.
Okay, yeah, I do want to come in, but can I just say something to what Tony was saying?
Yeah.
Can we try and not always swallow some of this propaganda? Okay, because right about now, our Prime Minister is what we would call a baby father. Okay,
That's right.
so it is in many different background people.
Yeah.
We need to stop claiming this single parent business.
Mm.
I'm not a single parent. I am a sole parent. My relationship status has got nothing to do with my parenting. I will always be a parent. I may not always be single. So let's leave that narrative to the side. We co-parent, a lot of us, okay? A lot of children will go down the route of like criminal behavior and what have you, because we know as educators that many children, if one particular child that looks a certain way does something, the consequence for that child is far greater than a child that might have blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah.
So let's keep it real. It is not just single parents, black people, mindset in education. There are lots of well-educated, well-learned, knowledgeable people that still end up in these situations. And there are lots of us that are doing a very, very good job at co-parenting and being positive about the other parent, even if it grates us.
Yeah.
There are many of us that do that. So I don't want to go down that route. Yeah, we need to honor each other, and we need to keep a little bit more positive about that. The point that I wanted to make was about parental responsibility. When Yvonne was talking about the mothers, okay, and the mothers tending to be the ones that are left holding the baby, if you like. I've spoken to many men who have been on the other end of it. And sometimes it's their education that needs to be broadened in terms of they have rights and parental responsibility. Even if a child is put into foster care, and I know this because I've been a foster carer, you still have parental responsibility for your child. Therefore, if you need to know this, if you need to know more about your child, you need to be involved in your child's life, and the mother or the father, whichever it may be, is not involving you, you do have rights in that regard, and you can contact the school, and you can be sent reports, and you can get your parents' evening and all of that. It can either be done together or it can be done separately. So sometimes it's giving that guidance. That's what people need. Okay, so don't forget about your parental responsibility and your rights in that regard. Look into those things and make sure that you do the right thing, so that when the child looks back, yes, I did know about what happened. Yes, I was able to go to your sports day. Yes, I did know when it was. And unless there's like physical abuse or a restraining order or something like that, in most cases, you can absolutely still participate.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Michelle. Michelle, we're at the top of the hour, so we are going to go to an advert, and then we're going to come back in with some more conversation, and we're going to be changing the conversation shortly because we were talking about something else in the group. But this has been a very interesting conversation that we will touch back on again. But for now, we're going to go straight to the advert break. Welcome to the R Retreat, located at Northamptonshire's Whittlebury Hall complex, a 4-star hotel providing a luxury spa and golfing experience with the finest food and sports facilities. Absolutely everything that you could ask for to relax and recharge. But not only that, we have provided the best relationship and well-being speaker experts to empower you, to give you tools, tips and strategies of how to develop and grow your own relationships with self and with others. So come and recharge, re-energize, realign and rebuild. Book your place today at the R Retreat, Whittlebury Hall, Northamptonshire. This is the time for you and you alone to give back to you. Okay, so we're back. So just before we continue, if you are just joining us, I want to welcome you to the After Dark Show, and just to go over the points that we made through this conversation. We were talking about if it's okay or if it's right to incite hatred to our children if the relationship breaks down, and we all know that it's not the right thing to do. But in moving this forward, some advice that's been given by the panel today is maybe parenting courses, a parenting class might be something that if you're finding it difficult to raise your child, you're on your own, and maybe you're incensed by the person you've had the child with and there's no outlet, maybe doing a parenting course may help, educating yourself may help, and also taking 100% responsibility for the fact that, let me just say this, you chose that person. Okay, if that is the case scenario, because there are other scenarios that we're not going to touch on today, but if that's the case, it's just, you met a person, you've had a child, didn't work, and now you can't stand the person, you chose that person, right? Okay, that's all I'm going to say. So we're moving on with the show. We are moving on with the show, and it is a good conversation. And I actually feel a little bit cheated that we didn't go through some of the comments, because there were some really good comments on the chat. So if we go down a little bit, maybe we can spend a couple of minutes on some of the comments.
10-9 did one, didn't she?
Tendai did one, and Donna MJ also did one. So let's go to Tendai. She's quite far up, I think. Yeah. Okay. She said, if you move the cursor off the hide for me. Yeah, that's it. She said, be the one to teach your child that no matter how you feel about your ex, no one, including yourself, should make that child choose between you or her. Explain appropriately how you are finding it difficult to deal with him on her or her so they understand.
That's right.
Yes. Thank you for that comment. There was also another
George is on
comment.
underneath, look.
Donna MJ.
No, George.
Oh, hold on. George Williams is saying it's just under. Yeah, George is saying hate our ego and pride taking over all logical senses. Absolutely, because you'll find that once they start bickering, it's all about ego and she go has to go. Yes, they do. I think there was one before that. There was somebody who said that they didn't know their parent. It was quite early on. Go up. I think it was Angie. Keep going.
No, that was Donna right there. That one there. Donna.
Right, Donna MJ. That's it. Let's have a look at that. Just slide that up a little bit for me. Yeah, so I can see. Oh no, you've gone again. Yeah, because I can see better there than. There we go. Right. So having grown up not knowing my biological father, I chose to never deny my child having a relationship with his no material. My feelings.
No, it's probably no matter.
No matter, yeah, I think so. No matter my feelings towards his dad. Also working with children for over 20 years, I see the damage it does. Good, bad, or ugly, the child should know its parent wherever possible. I covered and lied to ensure my child had a positive view of his dad. Thank you so much for sharing some of your stories, guys. And this is why it's so important for us to have these conversations so that we can, get to know and understand where people are coming from. Karen Eastman says, I definitely didn't choose my ex knowing that he was going to get on my bad side. I'm not the kind of person who goes for a bad boy. Nobody's perfect. It's how you deal with it in the end.
That's right.
So thank you for that, everybody that's contributed to that. Now I just want to jump in and jump on some of the men, not literally, even though I know some of you might enjoy it, but I'm not literally trying to, I've just got to put a little bit in there. Yeah, so we just saw the R retreat. And we are doing this retreat, and I have a question for the men. Now, the R retreat, you can see there's lots of spa and all of that kind of thing, but there's golfing and bits for men. Now, we're having a lot of interest from women, a lot of single women who are interested. But what I want to know is, what would interest the single men? Because we want to create balance at this retreat.
Okay, looking at the video, that's all you see in the video is women.
Right.
So the workshops and everything, just all women.
Okay.
So that just it's a woman's thing.
Right. Okay.
So just looking at it as you just asked me the question, that's what came to my head. I just saw lots of women in the video.
Okay.
I didn't see any men.
Right.
Mixed setting.
So let me let you into my thinking. I'm thinking, well, if men see women, they'll be interested.
It depends on the man.
If it was a dance, and if it was a dance, maybe.
Right.
But because they see it's a workshop, they're thinking it's going to be a workshop around women. And to be honest, a lot of men don't really like workshops. Okay. To be honest.
What do men like?
That's very true.
What do you like?
If it was more like there was sporting activities being promoted, and as I said, there's golf there, maybe showing the gym and stuff like that. Even showing a bar.
Okay.
Pool table or bar or something. Because if you just said, oh, we got workshops, a man's immediately like, that's 2 hours sitting down listening to someone talking or whatever. It's like, oh gosh.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Okay. Okay.
That's why the men are laughing, because
So
that's the
you
first
guys-
thing.
I like that. That is very, very true. And I mean, myself, I hold seminars all the time. I hold seminars on mental health. I hold seminars on suicide prevention, on men being addicted to pornography, and all sorts. And the men that attend always say, "Fantastic, really good information." But then what happens is you don't get the amount of men. I mean, women are always trying to get into my seminars. They're always trying to turn the camera off and sneak in and what have you, because they're interested in what I'm talking about. But the men are like, it's not until they come and hear what I've got to say that they think, they say to me, that was really good. And I got a lot out of that. So it's how you market them. I agree with Theo 100%. It's how you market to men. You have to market, things to men in a different way. And sometimes, if I say I'm going to talk about pornography, you get more men. If I say I'm going to talk about addictive behaviors, you kind of like, nah, we're not really feeling it. Like I say, you just need to be very, how you market it will make it more persuasive. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that input.
Ask Tony.
Tony, you haven't said anything. I wonder what you got to say.
No, I agree with both gentlemen. I think they've nailed it on the head. In all honesty, it's how you market to men, and men can be at different stages in their development. So again, harping back to what does a man at 20, 25, 30 get attracted to, as opposed to a man at 40, 45 get attracted to. You'd market something differently for a younger person as opposed to an older person.
Well, we are trying to target older men. So let me know, guys. You can give me some advice. I'm always open to advice, and as I am a female, I don't know what you want. So I am open. I'm all ears. Somebody said they want a blues. You want to offer the men a blues, and
Someone
somebody
says
said
put domino.
dominoes.
How old do you want these men
just
to
put
be?
some bingo on and just kill it dead.
How old do you want these men to be? You're putting dominoes on. You're going
Dominoes,
there. Lord of His mercy.
Yeah, you're going
That's
there.
all I can say. No, we don't want dominoes. No, we don't. Anyway, we're moving on. So I have a picture for you. Now, guys, you will know this. You would have, I don't know if you guys, those of you who are on the Facebook group, like I said, this is the other one that's got a lot of traction.
I know which one you're talking about.
And again, I'm just saying, before we show it, ladies, I'm not having a go at you tonight. Trust me, the men are going to get theirs. But tonight, I have to show you this one. So we was sent this picture. Lincoln is laughing already, right? Ladies, if your man proposed with this ring, what would you say? Now, Theo's just got up to have a look at the screen. He's gone closer to it because he couldn't see.
Is that a real ring? For real? That's not a ring. Was that a real ring? Wow. Okay.
Okay, can we put that up again? Can we put the ring up again?
Yeah, I need to see that again properly, man. That doesn't even look
Now,
real.
those of you who are on Facebook, those of you who are on YouTube, I want you to put on the chat, if you are a man, would you present this ring to the love of your life and propose? And to the women, if your man, your fella, your partner, your everything was to get down on one knee and propose and say, will you marry me with this ring? What would you say? And I want you to be honest, right? Okay, thank you very much. So there you go. There's the ring, right? Now there's been a string of messages. But the one that made me laugh the most, I have to admit, is my sister. My sister says,
what did she say?
Outright, just no. It was just no, and that was it.
Because of the
there
ring?
was nothing else. She didn't put anything else.
That's cold, man.
She just said no. And I tell you, when I looked at it, I laughed. It's only because she's my sister.
Yeah, but you know why. You know where she's coming from. That's cold, man.
So, okay, so there's been many conversations in regards to this, and what
Look, know
what
yourself.
I'd say, babe, can we choose a ring I like? Okay, at least Nelson's being honest. Karen Eastman said, I just laughed so hard. I just tell him it's okay, babes. I hope you still have the receipt. Love you though.
Love you though.
And I can just hear Karen say that.
Yeah.
Patrick Solomon saying, you're lucky you'd get a ring. Mhm.
See there?
Okay. Right. Okay. So come on, guys, on the chat. On the chat. I want you to show me on the chat. Get on the chat and tell me what your response would be. Can we just put that ring up one more time, just in case you didn't see? This is the ring. Ladies, if your man proposed with this ring, what would you say? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's keep moving. Right. So all right, so we're laughing. We are having a bit of laughing, right? Okay, so Nelson says, Simon says, okay, her hands are too big and there's nothing wrong with the ring.
Kiss me teeth.
I can hear
Somebody
Simon saying that as well.
no behavior at all.
Right, no, and listen, because the last subject we were talking about was quite a serious one, so this is kind of like just to break. Let's just break the debate for a minute. Right, Patrick Solomon saying my lady would be okay with this ring because it's about
That's
love,
right. That's right.
not the ring.
That's right. That's right. Cruel.
Right. After a proposal made and you refuse, can you still continue relations? This is what
that's
George
true.
Williams is saying.
That's true.
So, ladies, here's another question that George Williams has proposed. So, after the proposal, and you refuse the ring, can you still continue relations?
Cheryl says yes.
Cheryl says, I would say
Yes, but
yes,
choose
but
one
choose
I want later.
the one I want later.
That's good. That's good.
Now, come on, ladies. I just maybe a couple more. Des is just throwing down some laughter. She's throwing down laughter because I'm going to go to the men. I'm going to go to the men after this, and then myself and Michelle will come in after, right? Because I want to hear what the men have to say about this. Okay, so you've seen the ring, and Theo, you're married. Lincoln, you're married. Tony, you're single, right? So
Nelson
Nelson is saying honesty in a relationship is key.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But Simon has already said
The woman's hand too big.
the woman's
George.
woman's hand is too big. Kiss
George,
me.
what's the matter with you?
Oh my days. Right. So, okay, so men.
It's true.
Would you present such a ring for your beloved?
I don't like the ring, so I wouldn't buy it.
Okay, that's a simple.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy it.
You wouldn't buy
it.
that.
Yeah, because I don't like it. It's just not. It's horrible.
Okay.
Not because I don't want. Was that meant to be a diamond on it?
Somebody on the Facebook said, "Is that spit?"
Oh, God.
When I read that, I nearly fell off my bed when I read that. I was like, "Wow!"
No, I wouldn't buy it because I don't.
It's
It's
a
not.
diamond. That is a diamond.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't look nice. It's not a nice ring, so I wouldn't buy it.
Okay. Theo said it's not a nice ring. He wouldn't buy it. So, Tony, would you present this to your beloved?
I don't even think that's a real thing.
That's what I was
That
thinking.
is not.
I think it's a joke thing. Ask yourself the question: when have you ever seen a ring like that in a shop? It don't make no sense. There's nothing for the diamond to attach to. Yeah. Imagine if you put on a ring like that. How long would the diamond remain on the ring?
It's connected with
About 2
super
minutes
glue,
after,
Tony.
then, the diamond gone.
Super glue's holding it in
Thank you
place.
very much.
Thank you.
But, you know,
So we're saying this is the ring. Would you present that to the person of your dreams?
So I'm a person who's been married twice, so I know what it feels like to make that decision. I have never bought a ring for a woman without her blessing.
Yep.
It make no sense.
It made no sense.
You go and buy
Doesn't make
something
any
so expensive.
No, I don't
and
agree
she don't
with
have
that.
an input on what it is.
Don't agree with that.
Okay,
Okay,
Karen,
so come on, Lincoln, come in, because Lincoln has said he don't agree with
I
that.
buy. Well, I can say that. First of all, I like Theo's swerve. He said I wouldn't buy it because I don't like it. So I would say the same thing must swerve. I didn't like it, so I wouldn't buy it. But I've got quite a good eye for that. And when I bought my wife rings in the past, she has really loved the rings, and she is the type of person that would say, I don't like that. So I don't buy my wife clothes or shoes because that's something that I'm not very. But when it comes to jewelry, I can buy my wife some earrings or a ring or something like that. And she is very, very happy with it because she says, I got a very good eye for it. So I think it's part of the surprise. So I went out and bought an engagement ring and I presented the ring to my wife and she loved it. And it was nice because it was a surprise. But if you know that you don't have a good eye for it, then don't venture into that. It's not, stay in your lane. But I keep saying that you are causing trouble by coming with this ring thing now. The conversation that I've had when I looked at this picture is, first of all, I was in fits of laughter, and after I picked myself up and wiped my eyes clear of the tears, I thought to myself, let's say that, so I'm going to put a spin on it, and I'm going to say, let's say your man put a blindfold on you and took you somewhere, and then he presented you with this ring, and he took the blindfold off, and you looked at the ring, and then he said, you know what, I didn't want to spend X amount of thousands on the ring, and he turned you around and said, you know what, I spent the money on buying this 4-bedroom house. That would be a different thing, wouldn't it, ladies?
No.
Oh, so, this is the problem. This is the problem. You see, we're very, very materialistic. Now, if somebody, hold on. This is about how it looks. Right? A woman, now come on now. We're not pulling ourselves together now. Michelle, I'm very disappointed. Anyway, let's say, right, for me, I think that we're very, very materialistic. And I think that people spend thousands and thousands of pounds on weddings and thousands of pounds on rings. And then the marriage ends and they're still having to pay off the wedding. It's ridiculous. We spend too much money on foolishness, I think. Although I wouldn't have bought that ring.
No,
I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have because it don't look good.
it doesn't look good.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't look good.
Okay, so Ms. B first says, a man with me. Take it off the hide. Can you take the link off the hide for me? That's it. A man with me would already know that wouldn't work. However, it's a symbol you can always agree to get, let's say, a more visible symbol. A more visible symbol.
Bigger.
Yeah, if you can afford a house, you can afford a ring.
Go up. Go to there's a Karen. Karen said one.
Oh, Karen said one as well. Let's go down a bit.
No, bit more.
No,
go up.
That's it. There we go. Right. My ex did propose to me with a little ring. To be fair, he could never get it right. So he did the best thing. And then I got a lovely big one. Right now, it's catching pure dust. I would have kept the liquor ring if it was in exchange for him being any good, you know. Oh, yeah. There it is. Karen's dropping lyrics.
Look at Patrick said as well.
Patrick said that's why the women. Oh, Patrick, that's why the women are single. Give the men a chance now, or give the men a chance now. So a lot of the women on the chat, on the group, was saying, oh, it's not about the ring,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not about the ring, it's about the marriage, blah, 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 blah.
True.
And maybe that's because within the group, we're a demographic of 40 plus. And maybe that kind of thought process of materialism isn't there. But then I thought to myself, actually, I don't actually believe half the women that are saying this. I don't believe you. And the reason is because society, in my head, there is a thing about what society dictates to us. And one of the first things, when your friend says, oh, my partner's proposed, I'm getting married, the first thing,
Where's the ring?
let's see the ring, right? And you come and present that little speck of a ring. Now, are you going to feel good with that ring on your finger and feel like, see your ring? Because my thing is, you could have just gone to Pandora, because a Pandora ring is better than, and I'm not even plugging.
Yes, I'm saying you could have got something
better. You could
better.
have got something better that looked better than that. But the point of the matter is it the right thing to say to the man, darling, I don't like the ring? But anyway, before I'm going to bring in Michelle. Come in, Michelle.
Right. So it could be that ring was his mother's ring and it means a lot to him. And that's why he's giving it to you. So if you were to refuse that, might be a bit of an issue. Also, if you're with someone for them to ask you to marry them, hopefully you've been with them long enough for them to know you and you know about each other's finances and you do it in a more sensible way. And for me personally, I'd rather the person not propose with a ring than to propose with that particular ring. If it belonged to someone that was important to him, maybe there's something you can do to incorporate it into some sort of ring that you would have. But also, just to play devil's advocate here, when William married Kate Middleton, she got his mother's ring.
Diana's ring,
And if I were her, I wouldn't have wanted that. And that was a big old ring. So really, it depends on what the ring means to him, whether it's a hereditary ring, whether it's not. And yeah, I'd rather perhaps a 3-bedroom house together and put some money aside to do other things, not the 4th bedroom being the cost of the ring, but you should know your partner well enough, okay, so that you don't go down the wrong route.
Thank you, Michelle. I like that. Nelson's saying the fact he proposed shows his commitment. As for the ring, I believe more thought needs to go into it.
That's right. Yeah, she's right.
And are we agreeing with that, guys? Are we agreeing with that? I mean, Lincoln's went and threw a whole new different perspective onto the whole thing. Now, you know, he's put a blindfold on, you know, and he's taking you somewhere, and then he's put this ring on your finger, and then you take the blindfold off and you look at the ring. Your heart's going to sink, right? Any woman who's for real, right? If you're really real with yourself, when you look at that ring in particular, your heart is going to sink with disappointment. But you might just pick up your lips and just say, well, he's proposed.
Yeah.
He's showing commitment. Okay. But then the man turn you around. You see, Lincoln, you see how you're bad? You turn you around and he says, you know what? I didn't want to spend so much on the ring because I bought this.
Yeah.
How happy would you be? What would be the first question you ask? Shall I tell you what question I'd ask? Is my name on the mortgage?
Yes, your name is on the mortgage.
Okay. All right, then. Well, everything happy then.
Next thing
Michelle's still not happy. Michelle is still not happy.
The next thing you're going to do is going to change the ring.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
You're going to change the ring. No matter what happens, that ring is going to get changed. No matter the 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom. The next thing you're going to do is go to the shop and say, let me show you something better.
Yeah.
That's it.
Houses and things are decisions that you're going into a partnership, into a love partnership with this person, a marriage, And things like houses should be decisions that you make together. You know, what about the rest of your life? You just turn up with this 4-bedroom house. I don't think that's kind of realistic. But my thing is, if that little piece of ring, if it were real, which I doubt, was important to him in some way, how do you incorporate it? Yeah, because it might have special meaning.
Put it as a chain. Put it as a chain. You can't put it. It's not classed as a ring.
You know, or put it, incorporate it into, like, melt it into something so that it's with, you know, within.
Put it as a chain. Put it as a pendant on a chain. You can't class that as a ring. That's not a ring.
You know, it's one of those things. It's one of those rings that you'd say, you know what, thank you, darling, but it's so precious. That diamond looks like it could fall off anytime. I'm too scared to wear it. So let me just put it in a box and everything, and keep it moving. We'll just keep it moving, innit, darling?
And then get another one.
I've just got this one here. You know, it's just, it's just there, just so that I don't lose that diamond. If we can scroll down a little bit, there was a comment. Keep going. There we go. Is that Sherelle?
Yeah.
Sherelle Young saying, my friend's opinion wouldn't overshadow my partner's gesture. If it does, then you shouldn't be in the relationship. Oh, okay. What do we think about that? I can see our Lincoln is nodding his head like, well, come on, Lincoln, tell us what you think.
I think, look, like I said, I think the ring is trash. I think that ring is trash. And that's not something that I would buy my wife. But I like her sentiment. You know, if the reason why you're rejecting the ring is because if my friends see it, they're going to laugh at me and I'm going to feel funny about it, then it says something about your relationship as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, hey, that's just me.
Okay, Lincoln. I'm going to call you Link from now on. Karen Eastman said that house had better not have a mortgage. My name needs to be on the deed about mortgage. Man had better not put in a demand without my permission. Sounds like fraud.
Okay, can I say that was? Hold on, can I say that was hypothetical? Just like the ring. I'm hoping that ring was not a real ring. That's a hypothetical ring.
Karen's back.
Karen is back.
Karen is back.
Yes, Karen. Listen. You're not making me hot tonight. You know, I'm laughing a lot. Okay, so Patrick Solomon says most men are giving their partners, if we move at least four engagement rings, wedding ring, half eternity ring, full eternity ring. It's big business. That's so much ring I get.
No, you not get, not for us.
That's so much ring. I better get married,
That's for people of an age, though, because I don't think young people now. I've never bought an eternity ring for my wife. I think that's a thing of an age.
What's an eternity ring? Anyway?
Jewelry is just jewelry, isn't it?
I've got one.
Is that an eternity ring? Oh, I thought that was.
No, jewelry isn't just jewelry.
No, I've had another ring.
So Michelle, have you got an eternity ring? Have you ever owned an eternity ring?
My wedding ring was an eternity ring.
So you didn't get a wedding ring, you got an eternity ring instead.
Well, an eternity ring is the one with all the diamonds.
No.
Yeah.
An eternity ring and a wedding ring are not the same thing.
Well, mine was a wedding ring, but it was an eternity ring. That's what I chose.
So what you should have got was a wedding ring, then an eternity ring. So you were actually misdone.
No. What I should have had is what I got, and it was to marry the man, not the ring. Okay,
yeah, but you see what
the
we're
rings
doing
were
is we're getting
assigned.
into semantics about a ring.
No, the rings were
there's
assigned.
4 different rings.
Yeah, but you don't have to go with convention.
Right. So that's why I said what I said, because nowadays people ain't buying eternity rings. Rings is just rings. People just buy jewelry because they like jewelry. They're not saying, oh, I'm doing this because it follows convention.
Yeah, but that's not what a ring of marriage is, or a ring of engagement is. It's not just a piece of jewelry. But it doesn't mean that you have to have this stage and this stage and this stage. You don't have to. The point is the relationship. The point is the relationship.
There's no etiquette around the ring buying any longer. It's just a jewelry.
In
You
your
bought
world,
an
Tony,
eternity ring for your wedding ring because you didn't actually want the wedding ring. You wanted the eternity ring because it looked nicer.
you were there then.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Michelle,
And
Michelle,
so we're going to move on from here. Sorry, guys. I'm here and I'm cracking up with laughter. I shouldn't be laughing so much, but I am. You guys are giving me jokes tonight. Thank you so much for that. I needed that today. I tell you that. Anyway.
A man
So
gets a
I
watch
think-
instead of a ring. I don't
Right.
mind. Get me many watches as possible, man.
Yeah, see?
I love watches, so I'm good.
Do you know, I've got about 25 watches
I
in
think
boxes.
I'm about the same.
And I don't even wear them, look.
I think I'm about the same.
But, in terms of wedding rings, engagement rings, eternity rings, there is, Angela Croce says, I have 3 rings. And you can have as many as you like. But I think that was an engagement ring that we saw. I don't know why.
That wasn't a ring,
I don't
man.
know what it was.
It wasn't a ring.
Someone said it's a coke.
There's the ring again.
Someone said it's a coke top. The
The thing where you pull it and then it comes
the
off.
ring full of
It
the.
could be.
That's not a ring, man. You can't buy that in a shop.
Wow.
Like,
It's not a ring.
who was it? Simon said her hand is
It's too big. That's what the problem is. Her hand's too big.
Oh, dear.
I just found that so funny. Simon,
You know what that is? That's a little piece.
you made the show tonight.
That's one of them thing that you used to bind stuff with. You know the
Yeah.
the
Wire.
The wire thing.
wire thing on the tie around some shirt. Because underneath you can't see them tie it around.
Yeah.
That's not a ring.
I think it was my daughter that said she would have preferred if that was it. She's young and she's saying, she's not expecting her, her significant other to have a lot
Thousands.
of money
Yeah, that's fine.
and stuff. But she said that she would prefer, one of them sweetie rings.
Mm-hmm.
Just if that's that, just get a sweetie ring and she'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
Rather than that.
Yeah.
That was presented. And I think it all fun and jokes aside, it was about the response and how we perceive things. And I think there is an expectation, shoot me down if you want. There is an expectation a woman will have if a man is going to propose to her, get down on one knee. There is an expectation that the ring will have a certain etiquette about it.
Some thought behind
And
it.
some thought,
Some
yeah.
thought. You want your partner in their best, isn't it? You want the wife for to be in their best. So even if you can't afford 1,000, if it's 100, 200 pound, you could get a decent ring for 100 pound or 50 pound, whatever you can afford. But bringing that Lincoln, even with the 4-bedroom house, it's not going to happen. Even with the 4-bedroom house, all the woman's going to be thinking about is this on my finger.
Is when that can I wouldn't even tell anyone I was engaged.
Yeah.
No, not
It's
that.
not to present that ring.
Would you show people the house though?
Oh yeah, I'll be like, this is my engagement present.
Yeah,
This is my ring.
That's my engagement. That's
my ring.
the
I
engagement.
don't have nothing on my hand, but I have the ring here. See the house? That's what it is. That's that. Yeah, the ring. Like I say, my excuse would be, it needs to stay in the box because the diamond looks so fragile.
It's precious.
It's precious.
It's about what it represents to you.
Yeah.
When I was married,
Karen.
my husband's wedding ring, which we chose together and we designed it together, it meant something to us, but to other people, they saw it in a very different way, but it didn't bother us because that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
And it was a gold band, and it had my thumbprint engraved into it. So, it meant something to us. We were
that's right.
we were together. We were always together. But other people might say, "Oh, he was under the thumb."
Yeah.
Depends on how you see it.
Was he under the thumb though? Was he under the thumb?
It's not.
She says sweetly.
In it, of course not.
Well, we
You'd have to
know.
ask him, but no, I don't think you will.
Oh, okay. Let's have a look what Facebook user says. Okay, Facebook user Can we move the hand from the hide? Thank you. There is no set way to wear an eternity ring, so it's really up to you. One of the most common ways is to wear it on the ring finger on your left hand, sitting on top of both the wedding ring and the engagement ring. That's a Facebook user. So you're in our group. We don't know who you are, but if you click at the top where it says StreamYard, then we will be able to see who you are, and we'll see your name. But thank you for that. So that is the correct etiquette in wearing an eternity ring, apparently. I know that my wedding band had diamonds in it. And I think it would probably have been perceived as an eternity ring because it had diamonds set in it. But it was a wedding ring at the end of the day. And then the other wedding that I had, and the other one that I had.
I don't know nothing about.
I've had quite a few proposals. So anyway, moving on. So Karen Eastman says, I'm not telling a soul about no engagement house if there's no mortgage. If there's a mortgage. No, sir. Well, you know, you see what Lincoln has done. He's opened a whole can of worms with this house, you know, with this scenario. So we're hoping that the house is bought
bulldozering that house. That house I've knocked it down. I've sold the house and bought the biggest ring that you could ever think about, or lift your hand. You can't lift the hand with the size of the ring that we buy with the house, right? All right, the house done, right?
Okay, guys, great stuff. So we saw this. We know that this is. Most people were saying, you know, it's about the relationship. It is about the relationship. Oh, we know that it's about the relationship. But men, how would it make you feel? And I know what we have said. You've said, like Theo, you said you would.
I wouldn't even buy it.
You wouldn't buy that.
Never.
Would you go with your significant other to choose a ring, or would you still take the risk of buying something?
If you know your partner, you kind of got an idea what they would like. And you buy something, and if your partner loves you, they more than likely will take what you give them because it's brought with love. But if you bring that, that's not really showing love. That's kind of like.
But what if you bought this ring and you thought, this is beautiful, and then your partner says, I don't like it, we take it back? How does that make a man feel?
I'd be like, I say, go, no problem, take it back.
So it's a no problem.
No problem, take it back. Because at the end of the day, I'm not wearing it.
Okay.
I'm not wearing it.
Lincoln.
Sorry, if I bought a ring for my wife and she didn't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but if she did, she could change it if she wanted.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't impact you at all.
I'm not I wouldn't be that sensitive about it, you know.
Because I'm not wearing it.
So. I get the about the fact that she didn't like a ring that I chose. It's not that deep.
No.
Okay, Tony.
Yeah, same as Lincoln. If you choose if you chose some and they choose something different, that's not a biggie. You know that everyone's entitled to their choice. Everyone has their ability to have choice. Although in this day and age, we seem to be having choice taken away from us. That's a different subject for a different day. But yeah, you know, I've always allowed my partner to have an input on what I've decided to buy them, whether it be a dress or jewelry. And I just believe that's my way of going about things. I appreciate Lincoln's approach.
No problem.
Okay.
I would never buy my wife a shoes or a dress though. That's
No.
I'm useless at that. Terrible at that. Terrible.
Okay.
Terrible. I'm terrible. So I wouldn't even try it. Women's clothes confuse me. When it's hanging up, they look too small. It doesn't I just can't work them out. I have to see them on to understand. If you're just hanging up in the shop, I wouldn't even bother.
Don't go there. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
I'm a tailor. I'm a male tailor. I tailor clothes for men. There's a reason I don't tailor for women. There's a lot more that you can get wrong.
Too much variables and
I have tailored a garment for a woman, but trust me, the experience was not one that, you know, for some men it would be wonderful that, you know, you have to feel up the bust and get in the crutch line and all that, but nah, not for me.
Okay. The reason why I put that out there is because I was just thinking, I wonder if that's something that a man could feel kind of emasculated about.
Nah, you shouldn't.
You know, if you have a ring and you're like, oh, I don't like that ring, or is it the way in which you say you don't like the ring? Does it make a difference?
It wouldn't bother me. But the person would, if let's just say this is rubbish and that's stupid, like, yo, calm down. You can change it. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Why are you getting so angry about it?
Okay.
Well, that's a different thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody rejects your ring in that manner, then that's
there's more to
it. The upset would be about, well, actually, you're being quite disrespectful in the way that you're doing it. If you say, I don't like this ring, and I'd like to, can we change it? Okay, fine. You know, I don't think a man, well, not many men, I don't think would be feel emasculated by that. I mean, if you do, then you're pretty, flimsy.
You're already emasculated.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. You're pretty flimsy yourself as a man. So yeah.
Cool. Karen Eastman says the best thing to do is to let people change gifts that they don't like. Otherwise, it will just end up under the bed or rotting somewhere. Waste of money. I can't stand people who get insulted and insist on you keeping crap.
That's right.
In a word.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you, Karen.
It's true. But it's true.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it is true. Patrick Solomon says, my lovely wife went to the jewelers to choose her own rings. Well, if
Patrick Solomon, even if I called you, trust me, it wouldn't make a blind bit of difference. Like he says,
oh, Thea, if you want help shopping for your wife, call me.
I'm not getting involved.
What did you say, Lincoln? Stay in your lane, isn't it?
That's right.
I'm not staying in your lane. I think, just give me the credit card and I'll just go shopping.
Involved. Yeah, I'm not getting involved.
I think there are some things that just
because I might say that looks nice to be like, what?
Listen. Anyway, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to let anybody. I don't want to upset anybody today. No. But what I will say is that there are some men that should not buy clothes for women, and because I have personally had an experience of someone buying me something that their mother would wear. Oh, now we're going to move on.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming down to the end of the show, and that wasn't nice. And Nelson says, I was once given an expensive designer watch full of diamantes, is that?
Yeah.
But as it was too blingy for me, I had to be honest with the person at the time. I prefer less bling.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Yeah, everybody's got their own style and their own fashion. So, again, we make mockery of that picture, and it has caused quite a stir on the group, and people have been talking about it. And I just wondered, a lot of that said, no, I wouldn't mind. But actually, I don't actually think that's true. I think you would mind, but because the person's, asked you to marry them, you'd accept it, but you would be disappointed.
You would change the ring.
Yeah, and you'd change it.
If it's good for mum, it's good for you.
George Williams. There's only one George. We've missed you, George. I hope you're well. I hope you're well. Right, so we're coming down to the last 15 minutes of the show. And we have spoken about two different subjects tonight. One more serious, obviously the one we were speaking about first was much more serious than this. And we've ended on a more light-hearted note. But going back to just thinking about the whole ethos and the whole thing of the show, I just want to get your guys just your last thoughts of what you can offer out to those who are listening this week. So I'm going to we'll start with Tony because you're the first one that I can see. What were your takeaways, what any advice that you would give, and you've only got a few minutes, so keep it short, and just give us what you got from tonight's show.
So simple. Love conquers hate in all situations.
Love conquers.
Reminds me of a scene from Do the Right Thing with Radio Raheem with the two rings. If anyone remembers. Love knocks out hate. Always.
Okay. Thank you for that, Tony. Michelle.
When it comes to children hate and education, if you can, use the interventions that are available to you so that you've got additional support. If you're the partner that is being hindered, remember your parental responsibility and see if you can utilize that, because at the end of the day, the most important person in the whole situation is the child. And finally, let's not always go with the propaganda about our community. Some of us are sole parents, co-parents. Our relationship status is a different thing.
Thank you. Love that. Okay, Lincoln.
Yeah, I with regards to, I think the most kind of poignant subject was about the children and, you know, children being taught hate. I think it's a no. We should never do that, obviously. But I think what I take away and want to give is that, you know, when you deny, let's say, for instance, because there are men that have custody of the children and it's the mother that's the absent parent. When you have that scenario and you teach hate to the child, you are you're affecting the child. And I think, you know, kind of like little acorns grow into oaks. So as you keep on disparaging the other parent and what have you, and that grows and grows, it can turn into something else. And, you know, I just want to say that some of our children are fragile enough. There's some research that I looked at, and the research basically said that there are 100,000 children coming through the system at the moment that are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorders. So we need to be very careful about the generation that we're raising, because a lot of them are suffering from anxiety, from depression, suicidal thoughts and behaviors. So I would agree with Michelle where she's saying that we need to not be so tight-lipped, and we need to start to look at some of the interventions that schools and colleges can deliver. And I would also say that I am a teacher, I'm a lecturer at a college, and the amount of young people that I have to be kind of starting safeguarding procedures for, because I'm so concerned about them and about their mental state and about suicidal thoughts, behaviors, self-harming, is just, it's at an alarming rate. So we need to be very careful about how we're treating our young people. And I would go into our young men, but we just don't have time for it. But, you know, it's something that breaks my heart when I hear of another young man, you know, being killed on our streets. But that's for another show, I would imagine.
Thank you very much, Lincoln, and thank you for being on the show tonight. You've raised some good points. And just to say that Lincoln will be back. We are going to be doing a bit later on in the next maybe 6 or 7 weeks. We are going to be doing a show on just to bring some more awareness to the suicide rates, because that has gone up tremendously over this period of time. At the beginning of lockdown, it was 200%. It had risen by, and that's in general, that's 200%. It went up at the beginning of lockdown. So we're going to be looking at that. I can see your finger up. Go on, quick.
Just very, very quickly. Now, one of the things is, and I talk to men. One of the things is that because men don't talk and they don't get things off their chests, men are 3 to 3.5 times more likely to take their own lives than we. And I don't want to negate the fact that women do take their own lives. Women are more prone to self-harming. But men are 3 times to 3.5 times more likely to take their lives. And black men, the rate of suicides among black men is going through the roof. And I have experienced myself 3 suicides, being involved with people who have taken 3 people that have taken their lives, and it's at epidemic rates now. We need to kind of do something about it and stop it from being a taboo in our community.
Absolutely, and we will be addressing that. That is a show to come. So,
And just to add to that point, sorry, very quickly, I actually have the statistics because I drew that up this afternoon, actually, as part of my research for a talk I'm doing. 76% of suicides by all men are under 35 years of age.
Wow. Okay, thank you for that. So we really do have something to talk about. You know, we had a show in the last series. It was Tony Crossbody and Mr. C, and one of the statements that Mr. Crossbody Tony said, was that men don't talk and they don't have a platform. So moving forward, if you notice, a lot of the speakers that I've had on here so far are men. And even at the retreat, there are a significant number of men that are going to be talking. And I think it is, when he said that, it really hit me. Even though I see lots of men talking, if men feel that they don't have a platform to speak, then there's one here. If they've got something that they want to say, there's a platform here. So I'm just saying that if you are, like Lincoln is, his work is around suicide. And I know that Tony works around young people. If you are a male and you want to talk about some issues, whether you're in the black, white, pink, yellow spot community, it doesn't matter. If you want a platform to talk about what you do and how you're helping to save people's lives, then please, you can email me at info@yvonnemichelle.com. And so I'm going to now come to you, Theo, in the studio.
Very, very quickly. Remember, I do a barbershop. I do the barbershop. And
yes.
The barbershop is a platform for men to speak in confidence about issues. So I can give you the information for that. And we hold quarterly meetings where it's just men and we just talk about men's issues.
Right. Fantastic. And Karen's just reminded me to let you know that at the retreat there will be a safe space for men to talk.
And Tony's put one in as well.
And Tony's got the Men Talking platform. It's still running every other Wednesday. If you would like some more information about that, you can contact me and I will send your details over to Tony. info@yvonnemichelle.com. And the same with, if you're interested in the barbershop that Lincoln runs, again, the address there, info@yvonnemichelle.com, is at the bottom of the screen now. So now I've plugged everything. And your
takeaway for today?
Yeah, your takeaway for today.
As a single parent or sole parent, be a sole parent. The other person's not there, focus on your child. Whatever's gone on with the previous partner is gone. The child doesn't need to know about it. If the child asks where the parent is, it says they're not here. Simple. They're not here, and move on. Because you still got to raise that child. But bringing that anger and frustration out, it's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help you, and it's not going to help the child. So be a parent and focus on your child. Raise your child to the best of your abilities. And if the parent decides to come back in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, 20 years' time, that's their business. But you breeding hate is not helping anybody. So that's the takeaway. Just be a parent. I like that, Michelle, what you said.
Yeah. Can we scroll
Was
down?
it single parent? Was it?
Always a parent.
Always a parent, not a
not always single.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Your relationship status has got nothing to do with your parenting. You're always going to be a parent. You may not always be single.
That's right. So
that's right.
Be a parent. Be a parent.
Be a parent.
Children and adults don't need to be involved in the adult concerns.
Be the best parent that you can be.
Yeah, that's it. That's the most important thing.
Thank you for that. So, guys, we've come to the end of the show. But before we go, I would just like to reiterate what Michelle has put on the comments. And she said, the Samaritans are there too. great network and are there. You can call them anonymously. You know, if something that we have said today has triggered you or you're feeling, you know, incensed about anything, you can also contact the Samaritans about that. And you can also contact me on info@yvonnemichelle.com. I am a coach and I help people to navigate their lives in a more positive way. So I would just like to say thank you for watching again. Next week, on next week's show, we have a young man called John Kenny on the show. And he is going to be talking about why we always go back into the old type of relationship. So if you are that person who dates John and then finishes with John and then dates Michael, and Michael and John are the same people, but they just have different names. If that's you, you need to be on to next week's show. Okay? Yeah, because you know that same chestnut. Every woman I date is the same. Every man I date is the same.
Yeah, something's wrong.
Nah, you are the common denominator.
Yeah.
And
Something's
we need
wrong.
to work with you to change that.
Yeah.
So that's next week's show. And as we're going to keep going on. But do remember that the retreat is happening. It's a safe space for men and women. If you are single, do book onto the retreat. It has been costed at cost. So it is very, very reasonable. You get everything. That's it's $449, and for $449, it's all inclusive apart from your alcohol. If you want alcohol, buy your own. But everything else is free. You get the workshop, you get your bed, your breakfast, you get all of it. Spa, pamper, swimming, gym, jacuzzi, all of those wonderful things. Golf for the men. And, you know, there may even be a lingerie fashion show on the Friday night, just for the men and the women. Yes,
Just for the men and the men wearing lingerie.
The men are not wearing the lingerie.
Okay. Just clarify.
No.
Clarify.
You've given me an idea. Ooh,
No.
you've given me an idea. Maybe I could get something made up for the men. Anyway, so there will be
Lingerie or boxer shorts?
boxer shorts.
Oh, just regular boxer shorts, not no.
I don't know.
Oh gosh.
I'll have to see what the women like.
What
They would like their men to look at this. But you don't mind the women.
No, the women are gonna do things so they can have a laugh, gimmicky stuff. That's what they will do, something so they can have a laugh.
Is
It ain't
it?
gonna be nothing
Do
sexy.
you not think? Do you think?
What? It's boxer shorts. I'm sexy.
You might,
Okay.
there might be, something. I don't know. We might think of something.
Crotchless boxer shorts, yeah.
Don't do that. I can't unsee that.
Oh dear. Thank you, dear.
Bro, that's the only thing I'm thinking. Like, what can you do?
Oh, hold on. Natasha's saying, where can I find? Where can you find more details about the retreat? Natasha, if you want more details, I will send you a link. If you email info@yvonnemichelle.com, I will send you the details. I think that's the easiest way.
There you go.
What's
Trinidadians, happy independence, all the Trinis.
Okay, happy Independence Day. Oh, look, Michelle's doing her thing. Happy Independence Day.
Thank you.
Right, so guys, anyway, we've come to the end of the show, right? I need to wipe that thing out of my head that you said.
Well, do you not want it to go there down lingerie for men? So what do you expect?
It's like I'm gonna get some sage.
Some olive oil.
But anyway, we've come to the end of the show. Listen, guys, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank my panel for tonight. You guys have been absolutely awesome. Thank you for joining me. And we will be back next week between the hours of 9 and 11 for more After Dark talk. So, on that note,
Ciao.
ciao. Guys on the panel, stay where you are. See ya.
Tony said lycra.
Oh, good night.
You ready? You got me running, got me running. Take it,